a comprehensive look at trends, fund profiles, and more in Exploring ETFs.
We're going to talk about quality ETFs now with our ETF Research Director, Nina Mishra, who joins me here. So are we really talking quality versus what's known as junk?
Yes, in a way. So stocks have actually rebounded nicely after last week's brutal sell-off, and that's mainly because of some optimism regarding trade talks. But trade uncertainty continues and may not get resolved for the next few months, or maybe it may take years. And this trade war situation has resulted in global growth slowdown. Then there are rising geopolitical risks too, particularly in the Middle East region, and then continued saber rattling by North Korea. And earnings season for the second quarter was good, but not great.
It's putting it mildly.
Yes. So given all these factors and risks and uncertainties, investors have been putting a lot of money into quality ETFs this year. They tend to do better when there is more volatility, more uncertainty, and that has been studied and documented in academic studies, including quality minus junk.
And we're talking equity ETFs now, not bond ETFs, because you have that whole yield curve inversion thing.
These are equity ETFs which invest in high quality companies.
Got it. And so long term, they really fare out much better.
They deliver better risk-adjusted returns because these are companies with great balance sheets and consistent, steady cash flows.
And the academic paper you referred to, Quality Minus Junk, kind of outlines everything that we just put in a nutshell.
Right.
Okay. So let's take a look at these three examples that you brought with you of the quality ETFs. First, iShares Edge MSCI USA Quality Factor ETF.
Yeah, quite a name. The ticker is simple to remember, QUAL.
Yes.
It is the most popular quality ETF with assets of about 11 billion. Pretty reasonable expense ratio of 15 basis points. It has 127 holdings, which are mainly large and mid-cap US stocks with positive fundamentals. Now to learn more about this ETF and how it selects those quality stocks, we can go to the quote page on Zacks.com, read related articles and the report for this ETF, and also go to the external homepage, iShares web page for this ETF, and learn more about this ETF. So this provides exposure to large and mid-cap US stocks, as I mentioned, exhibiting positive fundamentals. And how does it define those fundamentals? High return on equity, stable year-over-year earnings growth, and low financial leverage. These are the factors that it considers in selecting stocks for its portfolio, about 125 holdings. And if you look at what those holdings are, they will not surprise you at all. High quality companies, large companies like Johnson & Johnson, Apple, MasterCard, Facebook, Visa, these occupy top spots in the ETF.
All right. Invesco has a product, a quality ETF based on the S&P 500.
Yes. So the ticker is SPHQ. That also is easy to remember. So this holds S&P 500 stocks which have the highest quality score, and how it calculates the quality score that we will learn in a minute. About 99 holdings as of now, same expense ratio, 15 basis points. This is also pretty popular with 1.4 billion in assets under management, but not as large as QUAL. So again, go to the quote page on Zacks.com, and from there go to the external home page, Invesco web page for this ETF. So this calculates the quality scores on three fundamental measures return on equity, accruals ratio, and financials leverage ratio. So pretty similar kind of criteria for calculating quality scores. And if you look at the portfolio, now one thing which I should highlight is about the portfolio. So I forgot to highlight earlier, in case of QUAL, if you look at the portfolio, information technology is 23%, healthcare is 13%, financials is also 13%. SPHQ, the Invesco product, has higher allocation to technology, more than 40%, and much lower exposure to financials. Healthcare is about 20%, and consumer staples about 11%. So if you are worried that these falling interest rates are going to hurt financials, then probably you should look at the Invesco product, because it has lower exposure to financials and higher exposure to information technology that typically does better in falling yield environment.
All right.
Now we can just look at the top holdings as well. Apple, Microsoft, MasterCard, Johnson & Johnson, Visa. These are the top holdings in this ETF.
And let's not forget about looking at the SPDR U.S. Strategic Factors ETF.
Yeah, this ticker is QUS, and this has a very interesting approach, so I thought I would include this as well. Pretty popular with 380 million in assets under management. It combines three very popular factors of low volatility, quality, and value in one wrapper. And this is much more diversified too, because it takes into it selects stocks from the MSCI index and selects 630 holdings. This also has the same expense ratio. All three have the same expense ratio of 15 basis points. Because basically they are competing with each other. So to learn more about this ETF, you can again go to the quote page on Zacks.com. It also has a nice dividend yield of 1.9%.
It's not bad.
Yeah, then go to the external home page using the link on the quote page. So this combines low volatility, quality, and value exposures, as I mentioned. Now you can also look at the portfolio holdings and sector exposure, etc. for this particular ETF. So Apple, Microsoft, Johnson & Johnson, Visa, Facebook, MasterCard. Very similar holdings, but lower weights because it has more than 600 holdings. Now you can also look at the sector exposure. This has about 25% to information technology and about 13% each to financials and healthcare. So sector exposure is somewhat similar to QUAL than to SPHQ.
And how do these three compare for the past year?
So on this slide, I have compared the financial the performance of these three ETFs versus the S&P 500 ETF. So you will see that all three have outperformed the S&P 500 ETF, but the SPDR product has done the best.
Okay, do you own either of these three?
I do not.
All right, thank you for that. Don't forget, always more ETF information, and that's located in the ETF section of Zacks.com. You could use the Funds tab in the top toolbar to help get you there. Also, don't forget ETF Spotlight. That's the podcast that Nina hosts and produces weekly, where she covers a broader range of ETF topics and issues and trends. And that's in the podcast section of Zacks.com. Go to the homepage, use the word podcast to click on at the very bottom of the homepage. It'll help take you to all of our podcasts, Nina's included. With Nina, I'm Terry Ruffalo.